When love turns into obsession and trust into betrayal, a seemingly ordinary family becomes the center of a deadly crime. This is the story of one man, two wives, and one lifeless body. It all began in 2017 when Naeem Raza, a 38-year-old successful businessman based in Leicester, was living a complicated double life. To the outside world, he appeared to be a devoted husband and hard-working provider. But behind closed doors, Naeem was balancing two very different relationships. His first wife, Aisha, lived thousands of miles away in Pakistan, where they had married years earlier in an arranged marriage. Meanwhile, Naeem had started a new life in the UK with his second wife, Hannah, with whom he shared a home and children. Surprisingly, both women were aware of each other's existence. And for a time, this unusual arrangement seemed to work, at least on the surface. Naeem managed to keep his promises to both wives, sending money to Aisha while building a life with Hannah in Leicester. However, beneath this fragile balance, tensions and mistrust quietly grew. The love and loyalty that should have held these relationships together began to crumble, setting the stage for a tragic unraveling fueled by jealousy, secrets, and ultimately violence. Over time, Aisha began to sense that something was wrong. The steady flow of money she had relied on from Naeem started to dwindle, and with it, the warmth in his voice during their phone calls grew colder. Once attentive and caring, Naeem became distant and emotionally withdrawn, leaving Aisha feeling abandoned and betrayed thousands of miles away. Meanwhile, in Leicester, Hannah's hold on Naeem tightened. She grew increasingly possessive, taking control not only of their household, but also of most of Naeem's finances and daily schedule. Her jealousy simmered beneath the surface, and the power she wielded in their relationship left little room for compromise. Frustrated and desperate, Aisha confronted Naeem during tense phone conversations, pleading with him to make a choice. "You have to choose," she demanded, "her or me." Yet, instead of choosing a side, Naeem continued to walk a dangerous tightrope, trying to keep both women in his life, a risky balance that would soon spiral out of control. Hannah was far from naive. As suspicion grew in her heart, she took matters into her own hands, secretly recording Naeem's phone calls late into the night, hoping to catch any hint of betrayal. She meticulously reviewed his bank statements, searching for unusual transactions that might reveal where his loyalties truly lay. Using GPS tracking on his phone, she monitored his movements closely, convinced that Naeem was planning to abandon her and return permanently to Aisha in Pakistan. Her fears soon became a terrifying reality when, one cold night, Naeem didn't come home. The house remained silent and empty, the unanswered phone calls mounting in anxiety. Then, the following morning, a grim discovery was made, a lifeless body found deep in the nearby woods. The peaceful facade of their lives shattered instantly, replaced by a chilling mystery that would expose dark secrets and deadly consequences. The body found near the edge of the remote forest was brutally beaten, its face so badly damaged that identification by sight was impossible. The crime scene investigators carefully examined every detail: the clothes the victim wore, a distinctive watch on the wrist, and fingerprints collected from the body and surrounding area. Slowly but surely, the evidence pointed unmistakably to one man, Naeem Raza. As news of the discovery spread, both wives were immediately brought in for questioning. Hannah faced the police with a steely calmness, her expression unreadable and composed, showing no outward sign of emotion. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, Aisha received the devastating news over a long-distance phone call. Her shock broke into uncontrollable sobs as she whispered between tears, "He's dead? He really is." The weight of the tragedy was now undeniable, and the investigation into Naeem's death began in earnest. The police began piecing together the final movements of that fateful night by reviewing hours of CCTV footage from nearby streets and parking lots. The recordings revealed Naeem's car pulling into an abandoned parking lot late at night, the very place where his life would come to a tragic end. Moments later, Hannah's car was seen entering the same lot, a chilling coincidence that instantly raised suspicion. as investigators searched Hannah's vehicle. They made a grim discovery: bloodstains hidden in the trunk, suggesting a violent encounter had taken place.
It was a quiet, rainy
But the evidence
Friday
didn't stop
evening in
there.
East London,
A
when
thorough
23
search of
years
Hannah's
old
shed
Hussein
uncovered a
left his
bloodied
house with nothing more than a light
likely
jacket.
the
2
weapon
hours.
used to
He
inflict the
smiled,
fatal blows.
kissed her forehead,
When fingerprint
and left,
analysts
unaware
examined the
that it would
hammer,
be the last time
they
his
found
family
only
would.
Hannah's prints, linking her directly to the crime scene and sealing a damning case against her. In the courtroom, Hannah maintained her innocence with unwavering confidence, casting blame instead on Aisha. She claimed that her husband's first wife had orchestrated the murder, hiring someone to eliminate Naeem and thereby remove Hannah from the picture. Despite these accusations, Hannah was unable to produce any concrete evidence to support her claims, and her defense began to unravel under the weight of the prosecution's case. Then the mood in the courtroom shifted dramatically when the prosecutors presented chilling audio recordings that Hannah had secretly made during heated conversations with Naeem. In one particularly threatening message, Hannah warned him coldly, "If you go back to her, either the ground will swallow you or I will." These words echoed in the courtroom, painting a clear picture of jealousy and rage, and leaving the jury to question Hannah's true motives. The judge delivered a stern verdict, describing the crime as one fueled by jealousy, pride, and a dangerous obsession. In his ruling, he emphasized that Hannah's desire for complete control over Naeem's life had driven her to a breaking point. Hannah wanted full control, the judge stated firmly, and when she couldn't have it, she destroyed everything. With those words, the courtroom sealed Hannah's fate. She was sentenced to life imprisonment, forever paying the price for the violent betrayal. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away in Pakistan, Aisha was left to pick up the pieces of her shattered life. She returned to her homeland, carrying the burden of loss and responsibility as she raised her children alone, haunted by the memory of a man who lived 2 lives and ultimately died because of them both. Love is a powerful force, capable of healing, inspiring, and uniting. But when that love is twisted by lies, betrayal, and deception, it can turn deadly. This is a story that shows how secrets don't just break hearts. Sometimes they bury bodies. This was the story of 2 wives, 1 husband, and 1 body. It was just a birth. But the next morning, the husband's body was lying on the floor, and the wife said, "I didn't do it. Maybe my daughter killed him." But the truth was something else. August 29, 2023, Wakefield, a quiet area of the UK. People were sleeping in their homes. The streets were deserted. But something was happening in one flat which shook the entire country. It was the night of a birthday. Cake was cut, drinks were drunk, photos of laughter were taken. But just a few hours later, the same woman who had a smile on her face was now standing covered in her husband's blood. And her 16-year-old daughter was screaming and saying, "Mom, what have you done? Why was this murder committed? Where did this knife come from?" And the most important question, did the mother commit murder, or was the daughter made a scapegoat? This is the story of a family that was torn apart in one night. Lisa and Ryan Elwood, seemingly a normal married couple. In the eyes of the public, they were a complete family, husband, wife, and 2 daughters. But what was happening inside the 4 walls of the house? No one knew. Lisa spent her youth with Ryan, but over time, the relationship began to deteriorate, drinking, blaming, and daily fights. Some days, the noise was so loud that the neighbors had to call the police. The daughters told the court that they often saw their mother shouting in anger, and Ryan defending her. But all that would suddenly end one day. No one thought it would. August 29th, 2023, was Lisa Elwood's birthday. She was smiling that day. A new photo was posted on Facebook. A cake, some drinks, and plans to spend time with her husband at a bar. In the evening, the 2 of them went to local bars in Wakefield. According to testimony, Lisa drank 6 cocktails while Ryan also drank heavily, but no one had any idea that this drink would prove to be the last cup of their love. They returned home at around 10 p.m. And then, suddenly, everything changed. As soon as they entered the house, a bitter argument broke out between the two. The doors were closed. The lights were dimmed. And then, a loud scream. "You always put me down." "Stop this drama, Lisa." The daughter was in her room, but the screams were so loud that she came out. And the scene she saw was probably the one she would remember for the rest of her life. He couldn't erase it from her eyes. Rain was lying on the ground. Blood was pouring from his chest. And in Lisa's hand was a knife. The daughter's tongue was tied. She only said one sentence. "Mom, what have you done?" Ryan was lying on the floor, covered in blood, and Lisa's fingers were shaking as she dialed the phone. 99. "Do you need the police, ambulance, or fire brigade?" Lisa's answer. "You will be shocked to hear it too. Yes, my husband was stabbed. He is dying, but I did not do it." After a few seconds of silence, she said slowly, "My daughter killed him. She went crazy. But the question is, was the daughter really the murderer, or was it a mother's cunning game?" When the police arrived at the scene, Lisa was crying. The daughter was standing still. But the police soon noticed there was blood on Lisa's clothes, and not her daughter's. Only Lisa's fingerprints were on the knife. And the daughter later told the court, "Mom killed herself, then told me, if you don't save me, then I will kill you too." The mother's lie, the daughter's fear, and a bloody knife changed everything. For months, the case had been on everyone's lips in Wakefield. Lisa Elwood, a mother, a wife, and now a murderer. As the trial began, Lisa kept saying, "I didn't do anything. My daughter attacked Ryan." But the evidence screamed something else. The only fingerprints on the knife were Lisa's. There were bloodstains on her clothes, and the daughter's statement cleared everything up. Mom got angry. They had been drinking. Dad said something, and Mom picked up the knife and stabbed her in the chest. Then she turned to me and said, "You have to blame it all on me, or I will finish you off too." There was complete silence in the courtroom. The judge delivered a lengthy verdict. "Not only did you brutally murder your husband, you dragged your daughter into a lie. There was no remorse. Therefore, you are sentenced to life imprisonment. You will have to spend at least 17 years in prison." There were tears in Lisa's eyes, but not of regret, but of being caught. And the daughter? She quietly left the courtroom. Maybe she will spend the rest of her life forgetting that one night. On this street in Wakefield, the house that once echoed with joy still stands. But now there is only silence and sadness. Lisa Elwood, once a mother and wife, is now serving a life sentence. Her daughters, who are living witnesses to this story, are searching for a new life, while enduring the pain inflicted on them by their mother. The family that once stood together is now torn apart. This story reminds us that sometimes even the closest people can destroy us, and how love can turn into hate. The court did justice, but the pain and family wounds will always remain. This is not just a story of murder, but the story of a destroyed family, where fear took the place of peace,